Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Star Wars Maul Shadow Lore, Season 1, Episode 6, Chapter 6, Night of the Hunted. The episode is rated 12 years and up, so this video B, there will be spoilers for the show so far, and possibly everything Star Wars leading up to it as well. Another episode that I absolutely loved. I'm going to start with a few quick video recommendations. So we're going to start with The Asexual Struggle in a Sex-Obsessed World by Elliot Sang again. Matriarch Archetype, Everything Transphobic J.K. Rowling Did in 2020, a deep dive. Trophy shows, we made fan art of our favorite albums and things got out of hand. And Illuminati Pop, Why Everyone Missed the Point of the Drama. Honestly, I think I might at some point watch the drama. I don't know if I am going to do a video on... I mean, I'm quite fond of, the two leads. I think they're very talented. But yeah, I might watch the drama. Maybe I'll even do a video, if for no other reason, so that I can say that I like the drama of the drama. Now, I am going to try not to restate things I've said before. Pretty much every strength I've mentioned in earlier videos on the show are still here. I really appreciated the dynamic. We haven't really seen, too much before this episode between, the Jedi Master and the cop, Cop Dawson's cop. It's got this kind of 80s, what's the word, like buddy comedy, very alliance of convenience thing going. I'm here for it. It's giving Midnight Run. Now, I think that does pretty much cover the overarching, so we're going to do some scene by scene. I will admit, when I saw Maul kind of just fighting the air there at the start, I mean, I get the point. He is, well, not the point, or I guess I'd be in the hospital. It's like incapacitating, isn't it, if you, the first time you're hit with a lightsaber blade? But, we're seeing that he is back to fighting shape, I was a tiny bit worried that that was like in place of action scenes, but that turned out very much not to be the case. So the the Mandalorian in charge of the other Mandalorians for Maul's team, walks up, and we get the "you better come take a look at this" cliche, and you just know as he is walking, as he's following her so that he can see what it is she really badly wants to show him, he's just like internally screaming, please not another video that theorizes about how the plot's gonna go. I've watched so many already. But yeah, very strong way to open the episode, that it's like, well, Maul knows where, yeah, that is, and it sets up, it pays off. Yeah, I liked that, even though Dawson's cop immediately tries to, he says, I don't, you gotta go, where? I don't know. You don't know, you don't care. Pick one. And the, he tries to make it as inhospitable to them as at all possible. Riley, make sure she doesn't steal anything. You know what, Dawson's cop, in like 10 minutes from now, good news, she didn't steal anything. Your place is in cinders, but she stole nothing. And yeah, I like the thing about, okay, so to keep this simple, that wasn't simple at all. Different perspectives on what's simple. And yeah, I appreciate the mention of Order 66, just for, essentially for the casuals, if we're being brutally honest, like the normies who might have, but yeah, like, I think I may have said in at least one video on the show so far, and I'm probably going to mention in the review, as with pretty much all other Star Wars, other than, like, the second or third movie in one of the 3 trilogies, yeah, this could be the first, hopefully not the last, piece of Star Wars media that you ever engage with, and you'll be able to follow it, So yeah, mentioning Order 66, obviously very important to really understand, because otherwise it's like, why is this such a big deal that the Jedi and the Empire are clashing, Now, yeah, and they don't even have very long to talk. Yeah, and I like that we don't immediately see, because I will admit, at first, I'm pretty sure I thought that was Maul going through the door, because we already know that he's, looking for, yeah, and later in the episode he does catch back up to Devon, so it's not exactly, yeah, some really great fighting in the apartment, and they make a break for it, and Riley is of course completely baffled by, because he thought the Empire were the good guys. This is completely, and that is something, if you're young and you're growing up, in a dictatorial regime, I mean, it's like, it's just every day to you. You don't think about, is the regime evil, unless you personally are witnessing, the atrocities, or know someone who is, and that you trust. And I also like it's brief, but the thing about, like, even in Star Wars, if you're a teenage boy, your room probably is not normally, accommodating to having company over, especially a young woman that clearly he's trying to impress. And yeah, the thing about, like, he's like, well, um, I don't want to brag, but I'm pretty good at, my sport. And she's like, and that's what exactly? And yeah, they head up, they gotta escape. And there's the thing about, like, maybe going on the roof wasn't such a great plan. And, the response of, like, no, you showing up here was not such a great plan. So what you're saying is, this is a bad idea, scratch that, pissing off Cut's force is a bad idea, this is what comes after. Please tell me I'm not the only person who still remembers that game. Anyway, yeah, some really great stuff up on the roof with the multiple, I feel bad, but I'm afraid I forget what those, we're gonna just call them transport ships, from the prequel era. And yeah, deflecting the various blasts, and Devon leaps with the force onto, pulls the yeah, gets the throws the pilot off his game and plane, and takes over, gives them a lift, and immediately there's more following them, and they got to do those really cool flying maneuvers where the people chasing them end up crashing into stuff, and just, yeah, really, really cool. Love how varied the action is. Like, it's so plentiful that if it was not so varied, it would get old real fast. Yeah, this is my favorite way to do action, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Keep it coming fast, frequent, and varied. This is yeah. I'm not saying everything action has to be like this. I'm definitely not saying every story has to be an action story, but I think this works extremely well for something like Star Wars. And it's also one of those things, some of the more recent, I quite liked Skeleton. I loved Skeleton Crew, but it was, not quite this, And I mean, in a very serious way, this is like, for people who miss the Clone Wars, pretty much. That's yeah. And I think, especially the darker, grittier, more mature Clone Wars, which was my personal favorite. But I do think there's a lot of charm to the ones that were more like kid-friendly and such. I don't have very many issues with that show in general. Anyway, I think that does pretty much get us to... Right, also appreciated the bit with, I talked to an Inquisitor. What did you tell them? Everything. I'm sorry, Charles. Yeah, what of it? I referenced both of the first two X-Men movies in one video. I watched them recently for reasons that I think is pretty obvious if you've been paying attention to something coming up. But yeah, you have no idea how much self-control I have to muster in order to not constantly quote those two movies, especially when I've just watched them. Never mind. Let's see, that brings us to, very clever trying to get I'm afraid I forget her name. I'm really struggling to keep up with everyone's names. Maybe I'm watching a little bit too many different, I might be engaging with a few too many different pieces of media all at once, but here we are. The thing with, what's the word? They've got talking to her, and she's frustrated, but she's trying to accommodate. Right. Also appreciate the bit where Two Boots is like, I think Lawson's gonna come around on this, and the coworker's just like, how did I end up working with Two Boots today? And they see the Dawson's cop is Lawson's cop is a fugitive now, wanted by the Empire. So I don't know if Two Boots still thinks that Lawson's going to end up appreciating the effectiveness of the Empire or not, but yeah. And, the one bit of individuality that Two Boots has, immediately, as soon as the what's his name? Lieutenant Blake, I think, he's like, Mr. Two Boots, those are not regulation. Have them fixed, have them replaced immediately. There is no room for individual, expression in the Empire, and not if you're working directly for them, at least, And that is one of the dictatorial, I think that does bring us to... I appreciate it. I did actually think she would be able to buy them at least a little bit of time. I did feel like on the show they're probably going to end up running, but I did not expect the stormtroopers to just walk right past. She's even like, did you hear what I just said? And she fights off, like, that's really cool. Let's see, and them getting split up is a good story element, because by the end of the episode, Maul has both of the teens, and the two adults are out there, and they both want the teens back, and they definitely want them away from Maul. And let's see, I think that does pretty much get us to... so they run into the train station, and I appreciated that it operates on the same logic as the one... I forget if there's more than one in Deus Ex Human Revolution, where as soon as you walk into the train station, immediately the train's there, doors are open, ready to go. And really, really cool with, so they get on the train, and there's the fight, or first Riley does, and then the Inquisitor shows up and attacks, and right. It was also very cool when they managed to escape from the Inquisitor in the transport earlier, but now the Inquisitor does manage to get onto the very back of the train, and they fight, and it's really, really cool. And seeing Maul, like, I don't know, listen, sometimes I'm a man of simple pleasures. I loved seeing Maul with his dual-bladed lightsaber going up against an Inquisitor with his dual-bladed lightsaber. It's... I know, I get it. It's ridiculous. I know people who are complete purists about lightsabers and say, oh, you can only ever wield one. If you have a dual-bladed, or you are killing one in each hand, that's just overkill. That's not, that's nothing. It's empty calories. I don't know. Maybe it is. I like it. And, Devin cannot deny that Maul really saved them. save both Devon and Riley there. There is no way she would have been able to fight off. And there's no shame in that. Like, it's an Inquisitor, that's pretty, significant. And I loved that she doesn't immediately turn off her lightsaber after the Inquisitor is gone. And Maul just looks at her and then turns his off. And he turns and he walks away, ugly pants, hands in pockets. And see, once again, I love when media does this. This has happened a lot recently. So the fact that he turns it off is in part saying to her, I'm not going to fight you. But him turning away, that's saying, you don't scare me. Like, okay, do your worst, I guess. Listen, I'm going to take a nap. If you feel like attacking me with your lightsaber, knock yourself out. Just like, I don't know, wake me when you get tired of it, and just, Because he could have been like, turn off your lightsaber. He could maybe even have been like, or else. But no, he's just, because she's not necessarily looking like she's intending to turn off her saber. But yeah, and it is like, what is she going to do, So it, like, yeah, very, very cool. And right, I appreciate a couple of updates on Spybot. That was a good way to get us closer to Maul being, on the, being ready to save them. Also really appreciate it. That train reminded me of playing Jedi Academy, which last time I did was not as many years ago as you might think. Because I like that game. What do you want?